Sagittarius, you're feeling isolated after split. Restore joy with astrology, the silent space after separation. There's a kind of silence that follows a split, not the peaceful kind that soothes the spirit, but the heavy one that lingers in empty rooms, between unspoken words inside your chest. For a Sagittarius woman in midlife, that silence can feel like exile. You fought hard for your freedom. You believed it would taste like sunrise, like fresh air after a long storm. Yet now the quiet feels too wide, too endless, echoing with the memories of what once was. You've always been the wanderer of the Zodiac, the philosopher, the truth seeker, the one who cannot stay caged in anything false. And yet, this new chapter has brought a loneliness that no adventure could have prepared you for. It's not the absence of people that hurts most. It's the absence of being understood. The long dinners with family, the soft hum of partnership, the familiar rhythm of someone else's presence gone. What remains is you, standing beneath a vast star-strewn sky, unsure where to place your heart next. But Sagittarius, this silence is not a punishment. It is a sacred pause, a cosmic invitation from Jupiter, your ruling planet, to rediscover joy from within. The same energy that once urged you toward distant horizons now calls you inward, asking, can you find freedom not just in leaving but in being? Through astrology, mindfulness, and small acts of courage, you will learn that solitude is not the same as isolation. It's the quiet garden where new faith grows. The universe is not asking you to shrink. It's preparing you to expand in ways you never imagined. So take a deep breath. Let the stars remind you that even in stillness, you are moving slowly, beautifully toward yourself. Chapter 1: Isolation in Midlife. The Sagittarius Paradox. Freedom has always been your heartbeat, Sagittarius. From the moment you first learned that your truth was your compass, you've chased horizons, emotional, spiritual, and physical. You crave authenticity like others crave comfort. So when your marriage or long-term partnership began to feel like a cage, you did what your soul always knew it must. You opened the door and stepped out. You didn't choose this path out of rebellion or pride. You chose it because your spirit demanded honesty. Yet now, in the middle of your life, this wide-open freedom feels strangely confining. This is the paradox of the Sagittarius woman after separation. The very independence you fought to reclaim can sometimes feel like an endless wilderness. You stand under an open sky but feel trapped inside invisible walls of silence. You wake up to quiet mornings, make coffee for one, juggle the weight of parenting, finances, and emotions, and even though you've built a new life, the loneliness presses against your ribs like gravity. Across the world, millions of women are walking this same invisible path. In the US and Europe, the phenomenon known as gray divorce separations among midlife and older adults has more than tripled in the last 3 decades. And most often, it is women who initiate the split. Studies show that as many as 70 to 75% of midlife divorces are woman-led, propelled not by anger but by a yearning for truth, respect, and spiritual growth. Yet freedom, as you've discovered, doesn't erase the ache of disconnection. It simply changes its shape. In your case, it can manifest as emotional fatigue, a quiet heaviness that seeps in between work deadlines, parenting obligations, and the mental load of starting over. The world expects you to move forward quickly, to be grateful for your autonomy. But what no one talks about is how lonely that autonomy can feel, especially when your days are filled with caretaking and your nights with silence. As a Sagittarius, you may blame yourself for feeling this way. Wasn't I the one who wanted this? You whisper when the house is too quiet. But dear one, don't confuse loneliness with regret. They are not the same. Regret looks backward. Loneliness calls you inward. The universe isn't punishing you. It's expanding you. Isolation is not the absence of love. It's the invitation to rediscover it in new, truer forms. In this stage of your journey, you're being asked to redefine what connection means. It may no longer be about shared dinners or someone waiting at the door. It may be about something softer, quieter. The warmth of your own presence, the beauty of friendship, the sacred moments of laughter with your children, the small rituals that remind you of your worth. Remember that Jupiter, your cosmic guardian, rules not only expansion but wisdom. The loneliness you feel now is the classroom where your soul learns faith. Faith in the unseen, faith in timing, faith that the emptiness will one day feel like spaciousness again. You're not broken, Sagittarius. You're being refined. So when the world feels too small for your spirit and too big for your heart, pause. Step outside. Look up. The stars above you mirror your own fire. Ancient, enduring, radiant. You were born to explore not only the world, but also the galaxies within you. This too is a journey. And though you may walk it alone, you are surrounded by Jupiter's blessings, by the wisdom of countless Sagittarius women before you, and by the light you've always carried inside. Chapter 2: Jupiter's Map of Renewal. Healing through expansion. When everything you once built feels like it has collapsed, Sagittarius, your instinct is to move, to travel, to plan, to reach for something beyond the ache. Movement has always been your medicine. Yet after a split, even your famous optimism can feel dimmed. You wake each day trying to summon your old fire, but your energy wavers between exhaustion and quiet confusion. It's here, in this uncertain in-between, that Jupiter, your cosmic guardian, steps forward with a lantern in hand. Jupiter teaches that every ending is the beginning of a new expansion. Its energy doesn't rush. It unfolds, gently widening the edges of your life until the pain feels smaller within the vastness of your growth. This is your planet of meaning, faith, and generosity, the great teacher who turns life's chaos into wisdom. Under Jupiter's gaze, isolation becomes initiation. Understanding Jupiter's role in your healing. When Jupiter moves through your first house, it whispers, "It's time to rediscover yourself." This transit invites bold self-expression, new looks, new interests, even new ways of speaking truth. If Jupiter travels through your fifth house, it's about joy, creativity, and rediscovering play, painting, dancing, laughing again. And when it moves through your ninth house, its home territory, it calls for spiritual expansion, travel, learning, and the renewal of faith. Understanding where Jupiter sits in your birth chart is like reading your personal map back to joy. You can use astrology apps like Time Passages or Astro.com to find which house Jupiter currently occupies. Instead of feeling lost, you begin to see that the cosmos is actively guiding you through cycles of renewal. Take Minhoa, a 49-year-old Sagittarius from California who found herself lost after her divorce. Her children were grown, her parents aging, and her career felt stagnant. She told herself she should feel grateful for her independence, yet nights felt unbearably long. When we looked at her chart, Jupiter had just entered her ninth house. I encouraged her to honor that energy by signing up for something that expanded her world. She chose a weekend retreat in Sedona, a quiet desert where she could meditate, hike, and simply listen to her own thoughts. First she hesitated. "It feels selfish," she said. "My family needs me." But Jupiter doesn't ask for guilt. It asks for faith. During the retreat, under a vast Arizona sky, she wrote in her journal, "Maybe solitude isn't emptiness. Maybe it's space for me to return home to myself." That single realization shifted her entire path. When she returned, she didn't feel fixed. She felt expanded. She began volunteering at a local shelter, took a photography class, and eventually reconnected with friends she hadn't seen in years. The same woman who once felt invisible became radiant again. Not because her circumstances changed, but because her perspective did. That is Jupiter's magic. It doesn't erase your pain, it reframes it. It teaches that every heartbreak is a horizon, not a dead end. Practical rituals for Jupiter renewal. Start by journaling your emotions without censorship. Write down your fears, your dreams, your gratitude, all of it. Then once a week revisit those pages. Look for growth, not perfection. Notice the way your handwriting softens when you write about hope. Jupiter energy thrives on awareness. The simple act of reflection turns confusion into clarity. Next, create a faith calendar. Instead of marking deadlines or obligations, fill it with moments that feed your soul. A morning walk under sunrise, a 5-minute meditation, a conversation with someone who lifts your spirit. Under each day, write one line of gratitude, even if it's just, "I made it through today." Jupiter multiplies what you appreciate. Then, align your healing with the moon cycles. When the full moon arrives, especially if it's in Sagittarius or Gemini, stand outside and whisper what you're ready to release. Fear, guilt, bitterness. Imagine Jupiter's expansive energy stretching your heart wide open. During new moons, plant intentions, not goals, but emotional seeds like, "I invite joy back into my life," or "I trust my journey to unfold beautifully." If you're feeling disconnected from joy, Introduce Sagittarius-style mindfulness, what I call mental travel. Close your eyes and visualize yourself standing on a mountain, wind in your hair, endless sky before you. Picture the horizon expanding each time you exhale. This practice rewires your nervous system toward openness and calm, reminding your subconscious that freedom is not out there. It's within you. You might also work with Jupiter crystals like yellow calcite or lapis lazuli, which resonate with optimism and wisdom. Keep one by your bedside or hold it during meditation. Their purpose isn't mystical showmanship. It's symbolism, a physical reminder that expansion is a daily choice. Reframing the story. Healing after separation isn't about proving you're okay. It's about learning to live without performance, without pretense, to simply be. Jupiter reminds you that faith isn't the absence of doubt. It's the decision to trust even when doubt remains. Sagittarius women often carry deep guilt after divorce. Guilt for choosing themselves, for disrupting family structures, for wanting more. But guilt belongs to the past. Expansion belongs to the present. The more you honor your journey, the more you become a beacon for others, your children, your friends, your community. You show them that renewal is not selfish, it's sacred. Let this affirmation guide you. My life is expanding in perfect rhythm. What I release makes space for what will bloom. Min Hoa wrote that affirmation on her bathroom mirror after Sedona. She told me she reads it every morning, even now. It's like Jupiter's voice reminding me, she said, that healing isn't about moving on, it's about growing wider around what hurt me. So Sagittarius, take heart. Your faith may tremble, your fire may flicker, but it will never die. Jupiter walks beside you, gently widening your view until you see. You were never meant to stay small. Your loneliness is not a void. It's the sky opening, waiting for you to fly again. Chapter 3: Soulful Practices for Joy and Reconnection. When Sagittarius energy begins to heal, it always moves toward joy, because joy for you is not a luxury. It's your oxygen. After the isolation of separation, it's easy to believe joy has abandoned you. The house feels too quiet, your calendar too empty, your heart too cautious. But joy is not gone, love. It's simply waiting for you to meet it halfway. And you will, gently, by rebuilding the rhythm of your life with mindfulness, creativity, and cosmic trust. You've spent months, maybe years, holding everyone else together. The exhaustion runs deep. But now, Jupiter calls you to reclaim your vitality through soulful practice. These are not grand gestures or forced routines. They are small, sacred invitations back to life. 1. Sagittarius-style mindfulness. Movement as meditation. Traditional meditation may feel stifling for your fire sign energy. Stillness can sometimes amplify sadness. So let your mindfulness be active, moving, and exploratory. Go for sunrise walks or short evening bike rides, where the horizon reminds you of possibility. As your body moves, let your thoughts drift like clouds. Whisper quietly, I am safe to expand again. Each step is a prayer of return, not to the past but to the woman you're becoming. Take Min Hoa's story further. After her Sedona trip, she began a small daily ritual she called morning wanderings. She'd walk the same park every day, but imagine she was somewhere new: Provence, Kyoto, or along the Mekong. This playful mental travel shifted her mindset. She realized joy could live in imagination as much as in experience. I stopped waiting for big adventures, she said. I found them inside my breath. 2. The birth chart as a parenting compass. As a single mother, it's easy to feel stretched thin. Emotionally, physically, spiritually. Yet, your birth chart holds clues to how you can navigate this season with more grace and less guilt. Look to your Moon and Venus placements. They reveal your emotional language and caregiving style. If your Moon is in Capricorn, structure soothes you. Build steady routines to reduce chaos. If it's in Pisces, nurture through creativity and empathy. Music, painting, storytelling. A Venus in Libra mother finds balance through beauty and harmony, creating small rituals of togetherness, like shared dinners with candles or gratitude circles with your children. Astrology is not about control. It's about compassion. Knowing your natural rhythms allows you to parent in alignment with who you are, instead of who you think you should be. It's how Sagittarius learns that delegation is not weakness. It's wisdom. 3. Rituals for reconnection and inner fire. Reigniting joy often begins with sensory rituals. Small acts that reawaken your senses and pull you back into your body. Light a candle every morning and say, I invite warmth into my day. Sip your tea slowly, noticing its aroma and texture. Play music that makes your heart move. Dance barefoot for 3 minutes. No choreography, no goal, just movement. These rituals sound simple, but they create rhythm, and rhythm creates safety. From safety comes joy. Jupiter loves ritual, it gives form to faith. 4. Healing through shared stories. One of the most powerful paths out of isolation is connection. And Sagittarius heals best through storytelling. Reach out to women walking a similar path. Join an online circle or local community for midlife transformation, spiritual growth, or astrology. When you share your story, it becomes medicine. There's a woman named Lisa, a Sagittarius from London, who joined a small online support group after her divorce. She said at first she felt awkward. I didn't want to sound broken. But as she listened to others speak, she felt her shoulders drop. We were all trying to find our light again, she said. It wasn't pity, it was power. Now she leads the group once a month, using astrology as a lens to discuss renewal. Connection reminds you that even though your journey feels unique, your healing is universal. 5. Sagittarius crystals and cosmic tools. Incorporate gentle tools that align with your fire sign energy. Lapis lazuli opens wisdom and truth. Carnelian restores vitality and sensual confidence. Citron radiates Jupiter's optimism. Carry one in your pocket, or place it beside your bed. When you touch it, breathe and say, I am alive, I am expanding, I am joy. You may also explore tarot cards or oracle decks themed around growth and freedom. Pull a daily card not to predict, but to reflect, to invite dialogue between your intuition and the universe. Jupiter speaks through signs and symbols. All you need is willingness to listen. 6. The art of lightheartedness. Joy is not always solemn. Sometimes it's deliciously silly. Sagittarius, you have a natural talent for humor. A spark that even grief cannot extinguish. Laugh freely again. Watch comedies, make light of small mishaps. Giggle with your children. Laughter cleanses energy faster than any ritual. It reconnects you to your spirit's natural optimism. Every time you laugh, the universe expands with you. Every time you choose curiosity over despair, Jupiter smiles. The journey of reconnection doesn't erase your solitude. It transforms it. What was once emptiness becomes fertile space for new friendships, new passions, and new forms of love. You begin to sense the truth your soul has known all along. Isolation was never the final destination. It was the bridge. And now, Sagittarius, you are crossing that bridge, step by step, sunrise by sunrise, returning to your natural rhythm of joy. Chapter 4: Rituals to Transcend Isolation. Freedom as Faith. By the time Sagittarius reaches this stage of healing, the loneliness that once felt unbearable has softened into something quieter. Not a void, but a spaciousness. You start to realize that solitude has been sculpting you, patiently reshaping your heart into a vessel wide enough to hold faith again. What once felt like the end of your story now feels like a sacred initiation. The moment you remember who you are beneath all the roles, responsibilities, and expectations. Freedom for Sagittarius has always been both the wound and the cure. You crave it, yet when you finally have it, it can sting. Because true freedom isn't about distance, it's about trust. The kind of trust that allows you to stand alone and still feel whole. To love yourself without needing to be rescued. To believe that life, in all its unpredictability, is still guiding you somewhere meaningful. This is where ritual becomes medicine. Rituals are not about superstition, they are containers for presence. They help your mind anchor into meaning when emotions drift. They remind you that your spirit, even in isolation, is still in conversation with the universe. 1. Candle ritual under Sagittarius moons. Once a month during the Sagittarius moon, light a single candle just after dusk. Sit quietly and watch its flame. As it flickers, breathe deeply and whisper, "My freedom is not emptiness. It is sacred space for joy to return." Imagine each breath feeding that flame, each exhale releasing fear. See the light grow stronger, as if Jupiter itself is blessing your courage. You can use this ritual to mark transitions, birthdays, moon cycles, or simply the end of a difficult week. Over time, the candle becomes a symbol of faith, a reminder that no matter how dim your fire has felt, it never truly went out. 2. The gratitude horizon practice. Every morning before checking your phone or planning your day, open your curtains and look toward the horizon. Let your eyes rest where the earth meets the sky. Whisper one thing you're grateful for, something real, something small. The quiet hum of morning, your steady heartbeat, the chance to begin again. This simple ritual is profoundly Sagittarian because it connects your spirit to vastness. Gratitude for you is not just about comfort, it's about expansion. It reawakens your natural optimism and reminds you that even in solitude, life is still generous. 3. Letters to your future self. Write a letter to the woman you are becoming. Describe where you are now, the confusion, the healing, the moments of grace. Then write about where you hope to be a year from now. What kind of peace you want to feel, what kind of laughter you wish to share, what adventures you hope to take. Seal the letter and place it under a crystal or in a favorite book. Mark your calendar to open it 1 year later. This ritual transforms your loneliness into dialogue between who you were and who you are becoming. It reminds you that even when no one else is listening, your future self always is. 4. Travel as prayer. For Sagittarius, travel is never just movement. It's devotion. You find God in open skies, in unfamiliar streets, in quiet hotel rooms where you can finally hear your thoughts again. You don't need to fly across the world. Even a short train ride, a weekend road trip, or a walk through a new part of town can reawaken your faith in life's unfolding beauty. When you travel, do it with intention. Whisper a prayer at every new place you visit. May this path teach me peace. Collect small tokens, a leaf, a shell, a note in your journal. These become tangible reminders that expansion is your birthright. Take Minhoa once again. 6 months after her Sedona retreat, she booked a solo trip to Florence, her lifelong dream. But she wasn't running from her loneliness. She was honoring it. She spent her mornings in quiet cafes, sketching architecture, and her evenings watching sunsets from bridges. She told me later, "I didn't go to escape my pain. I went to meet it somewhere beautiful." That's the Sagittarian way. Healing not by hiding, but by journeying into wonder. 5. Nighttime star gratitude. Before sleep, step outside if you can, or look out the window toward the stars. Whisper softly, "Thank you for this day. Thank you for my resilience. Thank you for the love still growing within me." Feel your heart expand with each word. Gratitude doesn't erase isolation. It sanctifies it. It turns ordinary evenings into moments of communion with the cosmos. 6. Faith as daily practice. In the end, faith is not a feeling, it's a choice. It's deciding every morning that you will keep opening your heart, even when life feels uncertain. Jupiter blesses that effort, not because you have all the answers but because you dare to keep believing in light. Freedom, Sagittarius, is your sacred inheritance. You were never meant to stay small, never meant to live behind closed emotional doors. Now that those doors have opened, you are rediscovering that joy was never lost. It was simply waiting for you beyond fear. Repeat this affirmation whenever the silence feels heavy. My faith expands with every breath. My freedom is holy. My heart is light. And remember, every ritual, every quiet prayer, every tear you've transformed into gratitude is rewriting your story. You are no longer healing from isolation. You are ascending through it. Radiant, wiser, freer than you've ever been. Your joy is waiting on the horizon. There comes a moment, Sagittarius, when you realize that the story you thought was about loss has been about awakening all along. The walls that once felt like confinement have become doorways. The silence that once echoed with ache now hums with peace. This is the quiet triumph of your spirit. Not the loud, victorious kind the world celebrates, but the sacred, steady kind that Jupiter himself blesses. The victory of returning home to yourself. You have walked through fire, through solitude, through the tender grief of endings. You felt what it's like to stand alone and wonder if joy would ever find you again. But slowly, like dawn rising after a long night, you've discovered that joy never left. It was simply waiting, patient and luminous, on the other side of surrender. You now understand that freedom isn't an escape. It's a devotion. It's the faith to keep your heart open, even when life feels uncertain. It's the courage to create beauty in the midst of rebuilding. It's the tenderness to forgive yourself for not having it all figured out. You are no longer the woman who clung to control or the one who doubted her worth. You are the woman who trusts, who knows that expansion sometimes looks like stillness, and that solitude can be the most sacred teacher of all. Look how far you've come. You've learned to honor your emotions without drowning in them. You've turned your loneliness into a spiritual practice. You've allowed your independence to evolve into communion, not just with others, but with the divine pulse that lives inside you. That is the essence of Sagittarius rebirth, transforming isolation into illumination. Now stand beneath the night sky, that vast mirror of your own spirit. Feel the weight of everything you've survived, then let it go. Let the wind move through you light and unburdened. Jupiter's energy surrounds you, generous and golden, whispering what you've known all along. You are not lost. You are expanding. Close your eyes and place your hand on your heart. Say softly, "My solitude has shaped me. My faith restores me. My joy awaits me, just beyond the horizon." And as you breathe those words, imagine yourself walking forward, not away from your past, but toward a brighter chapter of your becoming. The stars above are not distant anymore. They are your companions, guiding you home to joy, to faith, to freedom. This is your journey's truth, Sagittarius. You were never meant to remain in the shadows of isolation. You were meant to rise, to shine, to remind the world that joy is not something you find. It's something you remember. And tonight, under Jupiter's watchful light, you remember.